She was not able to make it. She had unavoidably out of town, and so other than that, I think everybody is present, unless I missed something. All right, approval of the agenda. Are there any additions to the agenda? I have one. I don't think I get in trouble for this. I would like to add under new business, item C, the new member selection process. I'd like to have Eric and Maria talk about what they think, just for a minute or two, what they think of the selection process, if they've got any recommendations. That's okay.
And Dave,
Yes.
when are elections done?
Well, we talked about it
find out
last
about
time, and I didn't see any support for doing it today. We could do it today, otherwise it would be January. That's what we've done in the past.
February.
No, we don't have to do it in February.
Oh,
City clerk's office said we could do January.
Yeah, no, we checked it out. And February is the month of the annual meeting, but we don't have to do the elections. So
oh, okay.
we can have the elections
It
today.
just happened in February, I guess.
Yeah, am I right on that, Christina?
You know, I think, yeah, the city clerk's office, I think that would be fine.
Yeah, I reached out, they said, well, we could do it in January.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. So, but, I don't know, what's your pleasure? You want to do them today? We certainly can. Otherwise, we'll wait till January.
Well, so when you do the elections, do the new officers take over then, or do
Yeah.
they wait until the next month?
All I know is what we've done before. And when I was elected to the first term, I took over immediately.
And I think January
Yeah.
starts the year.
Yeah. So that means Art won't vote, but, and then we'll have two new members that will be voting
In January.
No,
in January. Yeah, you go off in December, right?
right. I'm
This
on-
is your last
Today's
meeting.
my last meeting.
Right. Okay. Oh, and
We could do either one, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't really matter.
So I guess that's really the question, right? So do you want this current board, this current makeup of the board to vote
Elect.
and to elect and to move forward? Or do you want to wait and have a different
Well-
composition? And I think either way
Yeah,
works for the city, and I think maybe that's the conversation.
yeah. That was a question I raised last time. You know, everybody here, you know, we know each other. And so it would be good to maybe vote on people that you're familiar with as opposed to two brand new members that don't know anything well about us.
That's what I was gonna say.
Okay. So I'm sorry, what are you saying?
I was gonna say the same thing, that, bring in two new members that don't know anybody, it's not gonna
Well,
change things. I think the people that are working
could-
with you, like you
We can
said.
certainly add that to the agenda.
So I think.
Let's have a motion on
It
it.
means to make them, I'd make a motion that you have the election of officers today.
Okay, is there a second? There's a second. Eric, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Are there any abstentions? Okay, today it is. All right, so where should we put it? New business, I guess, huh?
Right.
I have to leave at 11:15 today, and I'd like to be part of that discussion.
Put it earlier?
I'm sorry?
Can we put it earlier?
Yes. How about after the public invited to be heard? Would that be all right? Or maybe after old business? Oh, wait a minute. Now Sandy Cedar is coming in about 10 minutes. We may not have time. Let's do it after Sandy Cedar,
Okay.
all right?
So she's.
So that would be item, it'd be a new item, it'd be A2 maybe, or it would be, that would be B, elections.
Under
And then B
discussion
would
of
be
city
C,
manager?
And C would be D. Is that okay?
So, okay.
B, C, and D, the new election of officers would be B, under new business.
Okay, wait. I see Sandy Cedar,
Yeah, she's gonna be here in about 10 minutes.
right, and then I see discussion of city manager
Let's change that,
presentation.
let's change that to the election of officers.
And make the discussion
Right.
see.
And then we'll just move everything down. Is that okay with everybody? Okay. So, with those changes to the agenda, are there any further changes to the agenda? All those in favor of the, I'm sorry, someone move to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the,
Okay, Eric, beat you by a half second.
okay,
And Lonnie,
John.
a second?
Okay.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion passed. Approval of the previous month's minutes. Any corrections or additions? Yes, sir.
I think, am I reading this right, that under the roll call, present city council member, last time, Marcia
I
Jeffers?
just noticed that.
Okay,
What's that?
It doesn't show Marcia as absent.
Oh, okay, yes. I didn't notice it either. Okay, that's one correction.
Thank you, Art.
Anything further? Speaking of, I'll come back to it. All right, any other corrections or additions to the minutes? All right, someone make a motion for their approval. Lonnie, okay, second. John, discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, one thing, Eric, I was gonna say this under roll call, but Eric, would you mention what you know about Marcia Martin?
Christine, I was gonna ask you.
Oh, okay, Christine?
I was at the meeting last night, yes. Councilmember Martin resigned her position last night. She will be a council member through the end of the year. I encourage you to kind of, she read a letter and talked about why she decided to resign now in December. It is very costly to hold a special election, upwards of $100,000, I believe. And so she wanted to wait to resign her position. She was in person last night. She it'll be effective December 31st. And then we will move forward for the process. And I'm not sure exactly what that entails to fill her position through the end of her term.
What does she have left?
You know,
That's okay. It's
No,
not
I think she may have been up for election this next year. I can find that out.
That's I was just curious.
I know she said last night she'd been on for 7 years, so I kind of figured.
I think it's one more year,
Yeah.
yes. And I can tell you that really.
and will the council appoint someone for that year?
Yes. Her term expires 11/20/25. And she's the Airport Advisory, Senior Citizen, Sustainability, and Water Board Advisor. So we will be figuring out kind of what that entails, how the council will move forward in filling that position.
Should we send her anything? Like a letter of
I think it'd be nice to do a letter
Sure.
of appreciation, yeah.
Yeah. Somebody want to do that?
I could do something up.
Arlene? Okay.
Arlene can do it.
Okay, can you present that maybe, or let's say, how can
Oh, I
you do
can
that?
send it to Ronnie and you can send it around
Okay.
and see what you guys think.
Okay,
Maybe I can say something
okay.
nice.
Keep it nice. All right. Okay, where was I?
Public,
Public to be
public
heard.
to be heard.
There was something else, escaped me. All right, public invited to be heard. Seeing none, we will proceed to old business. Yes, sir.
I'd like to introduce a member of the public who serves me on the peer support board. His name is Gary. And
Okay.
he wanted to hear more about what we do, so
Okay.
bragged about people at peer support meetings, they said, I don't.
Okay.
I see it myself.
He lies.
What happens in this room stays in this room.
That's right.
I want to introduce
Gary.
Philip Eklund, who is interested in the board also. It's too late for the application process, we've explained all that, but he is interested in the board, so behave yourself.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. I guess we can start on old business until Sandy gets here. Transportation, any updates on transportation?
So other than the information that I sent, the thing that has come out since that time is City Council has definitely approved the purchase of the cameras for red light runners and people who are speeding.
Oh.
I don't believe that there's money in the budget right now. I think they're looking for it, but they listed a whole bunch of places that are definite concerns. So 21st, 17th, Main Street, Over, Pace, Pike, a lot of those places that we all know about anyway. So that's probably where they're gonna put this stuff. And hopefully when they do it, it will slow down traffic a little bit and keep people from running red lights.
I think so.
Yeah.
That's good.
There was a picture in the paper and they're big things. I mean, yeah.
I didn't see it.
Oh.
Was it just the last few days?
Yeah.
Oh, how's that, Sean? All right. Housing, any updates on housing?
No, I put in my report some information about affordable housing in Longmont. And there's a link that you can go to really look at what their program is, what their project is for the next year. We do have Zinnia is having a ribbon cutting soon. They're the apartments that are near the suites, right? And they are also really supported with an in-house resource manager there. And
That's cool.
yeah, they're really big on bringing people in, a lot of homeless people, people who have been caught up in the system and need a place, to start fresh. So that's being, it's already opened and that ribbon cutting is, I think, next month. And then the Ascent at Hover Crossing is starting. That's up behind Walgreens on 18th and Hover. It's behind there. And the nice thing about that is they're gonna have a child care center there. I happen to be at the annual Longmont Community Foundation presentation, and Wild Plum, actually it was Molly and Katie from LHA who kept pursuing how they could have this funded by the Community Foundation. And they finally came up with a partnership with Wild Plum to where Wild Plum applied for the foundation, and it was all approved and it was paid for by the Community Foundation. So it was a big jump for housing because they actually have childcare right in the building. So, and the guy from Eric Hozempa from Community Foundation couldn't say enough good things about the work that Molly and Katie put into it, because he said they kept coming back with more ideas, and when we said that wouldn't work with our criteria, they came back with another one. He said they finally had one that fit. So that will be starting building soon. I'm not really sure if they even have a date for when it'll start. They may be doing a groundbreaking in the next month. They already did the groundbreaking? Okay. So that's obviously continuing. And then our ribbon cutting was yesterday at Village on Main, and the building is really something. It really is nice. It looks nice downtown. It already has such a prime location, but they really spruced it up and really made it look good. It's funny, I always tell people, it says Village on Main, downtown senior living on the sign, and I said, it almost sounds exclusive. Downtown senior living. But they really did a nice job. They've run into some corrections and stuff, but overall, it really came out nice. So But if you do look at the report I sent out, there is additional information on housing projects and housing, their plan for the next year, so you can find out more information on that. That's it.
I
Can
had a question. Did you have a question?
I was just gonna say, can I add a couple of things to that?
Sure.
I went to Zinnia for a meeting down there, and I guess the thing that surprised me the most, and I don't know why, is the amount of young people that are there. So that was kind of that was just really a shock to me, the amount of young people that were there. But the other thing is that that place is totally locked. You cannot get in there. And the housing authority facilities are not. You can at least get in the door and then you buzz whoever to get in. But this place is locked. You can't even get in the front door. But yeah. And as far as the place on Hover, Ascent, they have started. I saw the trenches. So I think they're getting ready to check up and get in, hooked up with sewer and water and that kind of stuff. So it's kind of neat. And their place, if you guys get a chance to go down there and see Village Aubin, it is really nice. Really nice. So they had a good thing yesterday.
I had a question, Lonnie.
What's that?
It's not directly on your report, but you mentioned it was funded, I guess, through the Longmont Community Foundation.
Mhm.
Is that just housing?
No, what it was funded, the child care center was funded.
Oh,
Yeah, the
Okay.
child care center was funded through the community, through a grant, partially through a grant that they received from the Community Foundation.
so,
And the thing is that they were having trouble adding on the child care center, to the building budget. And so they were able to present it to the Community Foundation, and because it was Wild Plum applying for it,
I see,
they were able to give them that grant.
I see.
And they received, I was at the presentation, and I can't honestly say I remember exactly, but I think it was $100,000. Yeah.
Do they fund other kinds of projects?
Community Foundation? Sure.
Okay,
They
They have
also,
a book, you can get it. It'll tell you how many things that they are
so
available
like,
to.
I don't know, vans. I mean, do they fund other kinds of things?
Nonprofits, from
Nonprofits,
nonprofits.
okay.
Right.
Okay,
they also received a grant from the Colorado Health Foundation for $3 million
Mhm.
to be able to make that work.
okay. All right, well, thank you.
Yeah,
John?
I went to the ribbon cutting yesterday, and I was impressed by, and I highly recommend people go to these when they come up, to hear the various people that participated in Longmont.
Yes.
Harold gave a discussion about all of the people that come together, the funding they find. It gave me a greater appreciation of what this city does that you don't hear about. It's in a specific area of interest.
Uh-huh.
And they had the contractor who did the work there, they had all the various agencies that participated. It was quite moving to find out how much this city does for its seniors and the unhoused.
Oh.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Highly recommend going just to hear that information because we don't hear it otherwise.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
And it was funny as people got up, the contractor, oh yeah, I was born and raised here, and then other people, I was born and raised here. So, it was really showing the amount of people who were long monsters.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
All right, I want to introduce, I think, is Sandy Cedar. Okay, I've never met
Yes,
you
I'm in
before.
the right
so-
place. I know we talk all the time on the
Yeah,
phone,
we've
but
talked,
we never got to see each other.
we've traded many messages.
Yes, very true.
You're a hard person to get a hold of.
Oh.
Well, we invited you today to talk about the legislative process, and I don't know exactly what questions everybody might have, but I got you down to 30 minutes, so that's a little flexible. Maybe you could just describe the overall process. I am most interested in the legislative process as it applies to the state. Now we have our own city legislative process, but I was thinking more of the state. Now maybe the others have other interests, but anyway, I'll just throw it open. If you could kind of introduce the subject, and I'll just throw it open for questions.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, thanks for having me today. My name is Sandy Cedar. I'm Assistant City Manager with the Shared Services, so all the internal services for the city, everything from the financial functions to things like IT and fleet and communications, that kind of thing is in the group that I work with. And I get to work with Christina. We are in the same office together, so that's nice. Get to see Christina more often. And one of my jobs is I serve as the city's legislative lobbyist and liaison. And so that's a role that I had even before I had this job, because no one else seems to want to do it. That's okay though, it's all right, because I like it, so it works out okay. But what that means basically is that I'm the lobbyist for the city council, which means that as they take positions on different bills, I'm the one that presents that to our legislative folks. I set up a legislative dinner. We used to do it in January, but we found that that's just kind of too late to affect anything, and so we do those now in May and June as people are kind of coming up with their next set of legislative bills. We do some work federally. It's pretty rare though, only because for the most part the federal process is way more convoluted, and there's a lot less opportunity for municipalities to kind of get in there and influence federal legislation. So once in a while we do, particularly around climate change, energy kinds of things. Sometimes when there's grants, transportation grants, or there's opportunities there, we'll certainly chime in on the federal side. But that's a pretty small amount of what we focus on. For the most part, it is the state process that we're taking a look at as a lobbyist, because the local legislative process is one that we're all part of and we have lots of hands in. So the state legislative process runs from January until May, and your state legislators, we have a couple of them in Longmont. We have Sonia Jaquez Lewis, who is our state senator, and then Karen McCormick, who is our state representative. We also have folks that are kind of around us that also like to get involved and like to hear from Longmont as well, which is always nice to hear. So we have some representatives in Boulder and some that are kind of Louisville oriented that when we redistricted, we really pretty much redistricted in Karen McCormick's district. So we are in touch an awful lot. So they start in January, they end in May. They usually present about 800 bills during that period of time. And so I track all of those. And so when I say that, what I do is as they introduce bills, I read them. I determine if there is a municipal impact or not. If there is a municipal impact, and that means that it's either going to benefit or be detriment to the city or to the community, I'll send that to city staff all over the place. So I'll send some to Christina. I'm not sure that Ronnie's got a whole lot yet, but a few maybe here and there. And so we'll continue in doing that. So I send that information really to all of our staff members. They then chime in and say, yes, this is going to be helpful. This is not going to be helpful. This doesn't really affect us. It doesn't matter. And I track all of those things and make that available to the public online so that you can see all the different bills that we're tracking. In the end, I end up literally tracking about 300 bills, 300 to 350 that usually have some kind of municipal impact. But I read them all, just in case. Sometimes I miss one here or there, and so it's nice because the staff members will sometimes bring up one that I didn't see and say, hey, what about this one? What about that one? After they give me their opinion, then I'll also check it out with our state agency, which is the Colorado Municipal League. We also meet every Tuesday and we talk about what bills are coming up that are going to matter to municipalities. And then if it's going to be either a significant positive or a significant negative for Longmont, then I take those bills to the city council for an official position. The city council has changed their processes several times through the years, but right now what they want to do is they want to be as reactive as they can be to those bills. So I read the bills, I put in a council communication for Tuesday night. We actually send the bills we want for them to take a position on the Friday before the meeting. So unlike the rest of the council packet, in the council packet it says, watch out for the bills, they're coming on Friday. And then we'll send those to the council directly on Friday. I also post those online so the public has access to see what we're talking about. The council will take a position on those bills the next Tuesday, and then I lobby on those. And so I will contact our representative and senator and anybody else that makes sense for that particular bill and let them know the city council's position. And then what I find is that as long as I'm doing that with some regularity, that if they have questions when that bill comes up, they'll call me, they'll ask my opinion about what's going on with different kinds of things. Sometimes they'll ask about bills that the council has not taken a position on and why we have or haven't. So I think we have a pretty good relationship with our legislators, and so that's really how the process works. So I know we've been in situations at times where advisory boards want to take positions on different legislation, and I certainly encourage that. I think that our state legislators want to hear from residents the most. I mean, they'll hear from me as the lobbyist, like that's okay, because I'm lobbying on behalf of a city government. But who they want to hear from the most really are the folks that live in their district, and they want to hear how they're doing them. So there's a couple ways that you can track that kind of those kinds of bills, is that you can check and see what's being introduced every day. On the Colorado, there's a House and a Senate page that shows the bills as they're being introduced. If you check it out on our website, I have direct links to those, so that you can kind of watch what's happening and what bills are introduced. You can tell a lot from the title. There's a lot of things that you can tell from just the title of the bill. I don't encourage you to read all the bills because it's kind of mind-numbing, but there's certainly ones that I think have a municipal impact. I'll be sending, on to these guys for their impact, and they can certainly present those to you as well. I think it's great to get involved in our local government. I think it's really important for them to be able to hear from you on issues that are important to you. If you're interested in the city council taking a position, this gets to be a little more complicated just because of the timing. So I'll take bills to the council on Friday for a Tuesday meeting. If there is something that you're interested in the council taking a position on, you can ask the council to take a position on the bill, and oftentimes they will then direct me to do that. I won't bring them up unless it has some kind of impact on the city, but there may be ones that impact more specifically seniors kind of in general. And so in those cases, you're welcome to ask the council to ask me to bring those bills. And then also, we could certainly talk to council about saying, hey, if the Senior Citizen Advisory Board has some that they'd like heard, we could include those as well on these Friday packets. So there's lots of ways to get involved. It's important to know that the only people that can state an opinion for the city is the city council. So once they vote, take a position on a specific bill, that's the only way that the city has an official position. And the Senior Citizen Advisory Board may have a different position than the city council. That's okay. But understand that the city's position is the one that the council votes on. And
We do that independently.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know we've had kind of conversations back and forth about how we can work more together. So that's kind of the legislative program. I spend a lot of time on that between January and May. I'm always glad when it's time to adjourn, sign, die. And the other thing I think to consider when it comes to cities is we are a home rule municipality, which means that our voters voted in a charter and we really regulate ourselves in many ways. And so for the most part, we're not lobbying for things at the state. For the most part, we're not asking the state to give us more rights or responsibilities or any of those kinds of things, because we rule ourselves. We are home rule, and you do that through your city council. We do spend more time saying, don't take that away from us. So we take more opposed positions, I think, generally, than we do support positions. But certainly when there are programs that might be able to help people, or grants that might be able to assist some of the work that we're doing, those are the kinds of things that we'll certainly support. But if you see a lot of negative coming, it's because we're protecting our rights as a home rule municipality. And that's different than the county. The county only gets their rights from the state granting it to them. So you'll see the county asking for more rights to do things, while we're saying don't take away our rights for doing things. Does that help?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, very good. What
Questions?
can I answer for you?
Comments? Arlene?
So, Sandy, at this point, are there bills that you are aware of that are coming up that would possibly affect Longmont? And as the advisory council now, that also would possibly affect the seniors?
So I haven't seen any senior bills coming through quite yet. It seems like the legislative previews that I'm seeing really focus on public safety this year.
Okay.
So there were quite a few public safety bills that came after the murder of George Floyd that were really trying to hold police officers accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those had some really weird unintended consequences. So I think there's a round of bills that are now trying to clean some of that up to try to hold accountability without hamstringing public safety folks. So I've seen 5 or 6 bill drafts around different aspects of public safety. Housing is always an issue. The last few years, the governor's priority has been ensuring affordable housing, to the point where he really felt like it would be better if the state did the local planning rather than the local planners, which we, by the way, disagree with completely. We really think that that's for our council, and for our community to determine, which is an interesting space because the state was saying you must have accessory dwelling units. You must be able to allow that. Well, we already allow that. We already have a very progressive housing program in the city of Longmont, but we don't want the state to tell us that. So it gets to be a little funny sometimes in those types of bills. So I'm certainly seeing some housing bills. I'm seeing a few environmental bills. There's, I think, a battery consumer production kind of circle act where they're trying to make sure that people who produce batteries are able to, also provide funds to dispose of them properly. Especially, I think, as we have, now the first EV cars are now coming to end of life. And so those batteries are serious batteries, yeah. That's a serious thing. So we're seeing a little bit in the climate world and the environmental world. I certainly saw a lot in public safety. I just sent those over to our public safety attorney, like, hey, that's up. There's a bunch of stuff happening there. But I haven't seen anything particularly that would either help or harm the senior population.
Art.
Yet.
Sandy, is there anything that the city or state has done that you heard of as far as the mass deportation? It gets to be a real big issue because obviously that's going to affect a lot of employment places and or businesses and stuff like that. So I was just wondering if there's anything there.
I appreciate you throwing me an easy one. That's a, we've been actually talking about this. Harold and I were just talking about this actually just yesterday with Carmen in the room. What are some of the differences? I think it's important to note that our police department are not federal agencies. They're not beholden to federal agencies. And in fact, there was a state law a few years ago that specifically cites that municipalities and local public safety folks are not beholden to ICE or any federal agency to enforce immigration. So while the city is not a sanctuary city in that term, right? The sanctuary city is one that that is a safe haven, in their minds for folks who are undocumented immigrants. The city is not a sanctuary city, but we're not a sanctuary city either. And I think that our council has been pretty open about a policy stating that this is not, this is not something that the city council needs to be involved in. This is not something that we would enforce. It's probably not something we would assist with either. So that's much more of a local level kind of decision. And I believe the state troopers, there's a state law that says that that federal laws that need to be enforced federally. And so, when you talk about deportation, the state law could change. The state law has changed on that over time. Back in 2006, I was on my honeymoon, that's how I remember. They did a special session that just ripped through a bunch of immigration bills in the state. And so did things like we had to have people sign that they were not employing illegal aliens with an illegal alien certification, which it hurts my heart just to use that terminology. So for a long time, the city of Longmont had to have people sign that they were not doing that. I lobbied to change that state law a few years ago, and it was changed. So some of those things were kind of taken back, but it definitely ebbs and flows. And so we'll have to see what happens in the state. Everyone has been pretty quiet about immigration and deportation in the legislative kind of world around it, because I think people are holding their breath to see what happens on the federal side. But from the city standpoint, I feel like we're preparing for what that might look like and what services people may need depending on what happens on the federal side. So we're preparing that way. I think we were just talking yesterday about when ICE did a raid up in Greeley a few years ago. What happens to the community when something like that happens? And, leaving families or children, or what happens to workers, or, what are all the different impacts? So we're certainly thinking about those things. But I have not seen any particular legislation proposed either on the state side and certainly not on the local side. And I think our policies have been pretty firm really since 2006 when all of those weird kind of one-off bills. They did a special session for it, which was odd. They introduced 40-some bills about immigration and undocumented, folks, and trying to really make sure that things were tightened up, I think, in a lot of different ways. And most of those then were reverted 2 years later, as soon as the next election happened. So it's definitely a swing. It's a swing thing, and kind of regardless of how you feel about immigration and deportation, any change to it will affect our community in potentially massive ways, regardless of kind of where you stand on it. I'm not sure if I answered your question.
Right.
There's a lot of other stuff.
Helpful, and I'm glad the city's taking a stand, that they care about the community.
Yeah, I think that's the bottom line, right? I mean, people who are here, that's really where the city council has based their policies, is that we are here to serve our community as it sits. Yeah. What other questions?
This might be a little off the wall.
Excellent.
We'll get used to it. Could we as a board contact our representative or senator to sponsor legislation?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I think so. That process is a little longer. So anybody who is at the State House needs to turn in their bills pretty much kind of end of December. All bills need to be introduced like in the first week or two of January. Now, you have 2 or 3 bills that you're allowed per representative, depending on kind of where you sit. If you're in a leadership position, you get more bills than if you're a rookie at the State House. But you're allowed a couple different bills that you can present. You need to present those right away in January. What you'll see is bills introduced right up till the end. So how does that happen? It happens because the leadership allows what's called late bill status. And so if you have brokered some kind of deal and you can get your leadership in the House or the Senate to be able to sponsor you, then you can have late bill status. And that's why there's bills sometimes up until the last week of the legislature. So if you're interested in sponsoring a bill or you want some kind of change to happen, it's really important to talk to those legislators in like March and April, because the summertime is drafting season. So between May, when they are out, and December, when they're getting ready to go back in, that's when they're working their bill drafts. They have drafters that can help with that. They're running it by different groups. It's always interesting to see whether the municipal league is included or not. So sometimes people will do a bill draft and they'll tell the municipal league that there is a bill draft, but not show it to them. So it's a lot of negotiation during the summer months on what kind of legislation will be coming next. So if you're interested in having something new happen, or sponsoring, asking them to sponsor a bill or sponsor an idea, certainly getting with them early on, either right when they are leaving in May or even a little sooner than that, so that they can start thinking about whether that issue is going to be one of the 2 or 3 that they bring forward in the next year.
And to add on to that, coming up in 2025, we've begun to plan our strategy. We are, as the Boulder County Agency on Aging, planning our strategy for the Older Adult Day at the Capitol, which is February 13th.
Those are really helpful, I think, and if you have the opportunity to go to those, I mean, the legislators really do like to hear from different groups that come through. I know we usually do a CML day. There's lots of, there's a transportation one, and there's lots of different Chamber of Commerce sponsors a day at the Capitol, and I think it's really helpful for people to see that what they do matters and that it's interesting to people. So.
And we're going to have a breakfast, and we'll be talking to different legislators about issues that we find important for seniors in Boulder County. So.
The other thing I would tell you is that you're also welcome, just as an individual. Just as an individual, you're certainly welcome to always talk with your representatives about issues that you may have or something that you'd like for them to consider. I do think there's a little more weight behind it when there's a board that decides to do that, that's representing a group, similar to the city council or the same citizen advisory board. I feel like that kind of adds a little bit of momentum when you're talking to somebody, one of the legislators, but certainly sponsorship, there's no reason why not. It is helpful, I think, if you have an idea that you want to sponsor something, to perhaps get that on the city council's plate as well, because then there's just more momentum behind it, and the city council agrees with you.
Yes, sir.
Could I ask 2 questions?
Sure.
One is, Dr. Clark still around?
Yes.
I used to be involved with that.
Yes.
And also, I wrote a bill a few years ago that passed, but I just did it as a citizen
That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was-
that's what I mean.
It was an interesting process, I loved it.
Yeah, I have one bill that I was able to help write as well around urban renewal authorities. So it's kind of fun to see that. What was your bill about?
It was, I'm a retired pilot, that all the aviation taxes that are collected go for aviation in the city of Colorado. And it sponsored all sorts of weather stations all over the state, and they did a whole lot with it.
Oh, that's so great. Well, congratulations. It's a big deal to get a bill passed.
It started out as a noise bill, but all of a sudden the government's really jumped in and it got changed to, which is probably more useful than the noise part.
It's amazing to see how things change as they move through the process as well. If you have one idea, people say, well, let's add this thing and let's do this other thing. Yeah, my bill, the part that I wrote was that you can no longer call an agricultural parcel blighted for economic development purposes. You can't say, oh, that vacant piece of land is blighted, so therefore we can do tax increment financing on it without agreement from other entities. Yeah, because I think there were communities, and I think the Gaylord Rockies was a big deal at the time, where they blighted that whole farm field and said, well, it's agriculturally blighted because it's, and that's not the point. The point of blight is to be able to take a place like the sugar mill, for example, and say, that clearly looks blighted to me, and to be able to create some incentives to be able to develop something like that either has environmental or other kinds of really blighted issues. So taking a farm field, a couple of our sister cities did that, and it just didn't bode well for the group, so we decided to self-regulate.
Lonnie, did you have another question?
Yes, last year there were a couple of things that came up for seniors. And so we ran into logistical issues with trying to get support for it. So for instance, we wanted to let people know here that they could contact their legislators. And we didn't know if we could put it in to like the email that goes out from the senior center. We didn't know if we could put a sample letter in. We didn't know if we could even announce it and say, here's what's going on, here's the bill. If you'd like to vote on it, please contact, and just put their addresses for the things. So before we see this year, if there's anything going on, what would be things you could say would work well with getting the word out to get people to then contact legislators on their own?
Yeah, because it gets tricky, right?
Yeah,
It gets
it does.
tricky because the newsletter is paid for by the city.
Right.
And the city only takes a position when the council takes the position. So that's where it gets kind of tricky. So if the city council agrees with you, takes the same position, go for it, right? It could go anywhere. If the city council takes a similar position, then that's the city's position. And newsletters can be used to spread their position. That's totally open game once the council takes a position on a bill.
Would we be able to put sample letters out in the lobby?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So as the Senior Citizen Advisory Board, right, so you are the task force who are advisory to the council. So like I said, sometimes if it's something that the council doesn't agree with,
Right.
then it gets to be extra tricky.
Right.
Then it gets to be extra tricky. But certainly as the board and the advisor to the city council, I think it's important to be able to say, hey, in this week's meeting, we talked about these things, and here's some things that you can do if you want to learn more. It feels to me like that's within the scope. It's and if you said, hey, the Senior Citizens Advisory Board is going to put out a couple of different letters, I think it's tricky because, like I said, who puts out those letters? Is it you making copies, or is it Senior Center making the copies? Which, so it gets to be tricky. The best thing I think to do is to be able to identify those really early, to connect with me, and let's get a council position on those. Because for the most part, the city council is not generally going to take a position against seniors. Right. It has to be more complicated than that for them to, and I know we've had a couple of those, right, where it's been trickier than just, exactly. Is it good for seniors, or is it not good for home rule? Those kinds of things. I'll give you an example. Sales tax. We collect our own sales tax. We don't want the state to collect our sales tax. We do it ourselves because we just trust ourselves better. We levy the sales tax. We want to collect it. We know we can audit it. And we want to control the process. So once in a while, somebody will say, well, you know what you really should do is exempt sales tax for this thing or that thing.
Mhm.
And the state says they want to exempt sales tax for this thing or that thing. We may already exempt it, but we're still going to go against that bill because we don't want you to tell us to do that. Right? And so that's where it gets tricky when it comes to things that are either for seniors or against seniors, right? Is how does the home rule municipality portion of that click in? Yeah,
Eric.
If we present something to you, how long does it take for you to review it and get back to us? Generally speaking.
I've probably already reviewed it
Okay.
by the time you all see it and take a look at it. And I think one thing that we could do, I could do potentially a little bit differently this year. So I read the bills every day and I send them to staff probably every 2 days, 2 or 3 days. They'll get a giant clock purpose, you know, like, and here's everything in your area, all your areas. Because all the directors are always copied on anything that I'm sending out to everyone else. But I have not paid a whole lot of attention to senior issues, mostly because they don't impact the municipality. They impact residents in the municipality, but not necessarily the municipal operation itself. But I'll watch out for those more and make sure that I send those, with more regularity, so that way you kind of have more idea of what we're seeing. Because I think it's really tough to track them otherwise. I think it's really tough to be paying attention to what's happening. If you sent me something, as long as it's before Friday, I can review it and get it in council packet on Friday. So that's kind of my time frame. I usually spend Friday mornings preparing what goes out to the city council that day. And so that way I'm very last minute. It's like to the minute, here's the very last moment that I can send things to the council. So if you sent me things anytime before that Friday, I could review it and include it in the packet if it's something that I thought had a municipal importance. Or even just shared that with the council. Hey, the Senior Citizen Advisory Board would like for you to consider this bill, and their recommendation is this.
John.
What's the actual process, Sandy, to get information to you by Friday?
Email's great.
Email.
Yeah, and David has my email. And we get to revisit. So yeah, just email me. And particularly if you guys are having a board meeting, you've taken a position on something, just send them to me. Yeah, as soon as you do, and then I'll be able to include that in the next packet.
Send you the notes and just highlight.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, that would be helpful. Yeah, because you're in a tricky position, right? Because you're representing seniors in the community. And that is incredibly important work. And you're also advisory to the council. So it's not a completely independent board, but they want to hear from you, right? That's why you're advising them.
Sandy, is your email Sandy or Sandra?
Sandra, thank you. And it's Cedar with an S, S-E-A-D-E-R.
Longmont Government.
Yep, you got it. And I think I would appreciate certainly one person maybe being the one that says, the board voted on this. Send it that way.
Mm-hmm.
If you as an individual want the council to consider something, just come to public invite to be heard, or send them an email on their city council or give them a call. On the website, if you go to contact city council and you fill out the little form, it sends emails to all of them instantaneously. I think some people look at a form and they're like, well, is that actually getting anywhere? That form goes directly to each of their emails as individuals. So they don't have to check anything else. They will get your email directly. So if there's something you want to take a position on as an individual, email them, call them, speak at public invite to be heard. They can give me direction on any bill they want at any time. So there's been bills, I think we did some on early childhood at one point, that really didn't affect Longmont per se, but would affect the state overall when it comes to early childhood work. And so the council asked me to bring that back. And so I sure did.
Did you say that there was something about enforcement, like traffic enforcement, that included 17th Street? Maybe I didn't understand that right.
Yeah.
Okay, I may not have heard it.
But we're certainly doing a lot more around traffic enforcement right now. We're getting ready to put in some red light cameras.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, I don't think I mentioned that, but that is a true thing. That is something that we're looking at doing right now. We've just found that people are running those red lights and creating fatalities, and we now have some maps around where the fatalities are in Longmont. And so to be able to put some enforcement there when you can't have a police officer.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anyone loves a red light camera, unless you're the person that got hit by someone who ran a red light, you know? And
Yeah.
so Harold's really, really wanting to be proactive around some of the traffic safety things. Vision Zero is a policy of the city council. Vision Zero, the goal of Vision Zero is 0 deaths due to crashes. Not 0 crashes, things happen, things happen. But can we put in place systems and different ways of thinking that reduce the crashes that end up in fatalities?
And pedestrian, and
In all ways, yeah,
walking,
all crashes, yeah, bicycles, pedestrians, you know, that all crashes. That's the idea of Vision Zero, is 0 deaths due to crashes.
Well, I live on 17th Street across from Ute Creek. And you all may know, from Pace to County Line Road is like drag racing.
yeah, exactly.
Particularly this summer, but anytime. And noise, I mean, not safety, noise, all kinds of reasons. And kids cross that street from school. Me and my other dog walkers cross that street all the time to, you know, vary our surroundings. So, I mean, it's, you know, they did put a crosswalk flashing thing in, which was good.
Yeah,
We
that's helpful.
lobbied that with one of the council people some years ago. But it continues to be a.
We do have a task force that's being built right now around Vision Zero for people who are interested in helping with that. So, yeah, most definitely. I don't know if you have access to internet, but if you put in Vision Zero, you'll see the whole task force, the video, the day of remembrance. We just
Is that Vision Zero Longmont?
yes. Well, it's a worldwide vision, right? That lots of communities have signed up on. But Longmont certainly is one. The Vision Zero work that we're doing here is local, is run by somebody in our transportation department. So very focused on local solutions to prevent deaths.
And that's Phil and Candy, right?
It's Phil and Candy, yeah. And Dylan, we just hired Dylan, who's our community engagement specialist. That too. So yeah, I think you'll see that. And I know that Harold has said, you know, will we make money with this, you know, with having the red light cameras and speed cameras? And the answer is yes, we certainly will make money with it. But the goal is to not make money with it.
The goal is not to have any deaths.
That's right. The goal is to get everybody to bring it down a notch.
Yeah.
7 to 14. All right, any other questions?
Happy to answer any other questions. I'm also work with Harold all the time and.
That has been very helpful.
Excellent.
Appreciate you coming. Maybe you'd come again.
Absolutely. Feel me part of the way through the session if you'd like for me to come and we can do kind of a recap on where we are.
Yeah, we'd like that. I think we've talked about that already, and we'd like to have you come again.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, thanks
Thank
for
you,
having me.
Sandy.
I look forward to, thank you. Good. You'll be hearing from me. All right, well, thank you.
All right, let's see, where were we? Did you finish with housing?
I did.
Okay. Food insecurity, John.
The handout here is from the lead article in the Boulder Weekly. And what it talks about is food bankruptcy, and specifically about the fact that 1 in 8 Boulder County residents are hungry. With some statistics as it applies to us here in Longmont. I think the numbers in Longmont are higher based on the fact that we get over 1 million pounds of food here from community food share and other food groups. If you look at the number of people that would feed, 1 in 8 is probably a low number. Working with Food Security Network, Erica Way and Longmont Food Rescue and Pullen seem to be able to be closing in on being able to fit the criteria that the senior center has established for having a food table. we get pretty close. We should have something for Lonnie by the end of this month or early January to see if that can come together. Met with Christina and her team, I talked about this the last time, and we're getting together to chat more about how we find access for seniors, the senior center, and through the children's and family and other nonprofits the city supports. Try to find out how we might utilize that team of people to get the word out about food security and see how we might make it apply to the senior center. Last but not least, I want to thank the advisory board for your support this year. We've been at this since May, and particularly with Arlene and Ann and Lonnie, we've forged in various food support programs. Been a lot of people who are involved, and I think in the coming year we'll be able to get something put together to be able to present to the city council and to the city manager specifically about how we might address that for seniors. And also want to thank Eric for his input on use of media to get information out about food security. We're working on something. We'll see how that happens. So thank you very much.
John, do you expect to have something ready that we can present when we do our presentation to Harold?
That is my hope.
Okay.
That is my hope. So,
Good.
and there's a lot of support for it. It's just a matter of getting it all together.
Right.
Because we have a short amount of time to be in front of Harold, and I want to be as poignant as possible and meaningful. So that's the hope. We don't lack information, we just lack a little bit of focus. So we'll see.
I feel this.
Yeah. But thank you.
Okay, looking at the wrong page here. Via, when we had our speaker last month, they promised to get back to us. She was going to have a staff meeting, remember? And they were going to get back to us. Now, I haven't heard anything. Ronnie, have you heard
I have
anything?
not. I reached out with a voice message and haven't heard anything back.
Okay. Well, I think we should follow up with that, don't you? I mean,
Yes.
we raised a number of issues, and I think we're entitled to some kind of a response.
I'll look into it.
So, okay.
Keep on.
If you'll follow up on that then and see what you can get?
Because
Okay.
it's, the same issues continue to come up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I don't know if everybody realized it when we were talking at the last meeting, but when we go to a monthly meeting for the Aging Advisory Council, we get picked up if we want by VIA. And they'll swing around, swing through Lafayette, Longmont, and wherever we're going. And we always share the meetings every month for another place in Boulder County. So we go to Netherland, we go to Allen's Park, we go to places farther than just Boulder. So VIA will swing around and pick everybody up accordingly and bring them to the meeting. Well, it was at the meeting that they were at 2 months ago that VIA couldn't get back to pick them up. And the woman who's co-sponsor with Arlene works at VIA. She's the one that drives. And yeah, they just didn't schedule it or whatever. So that's how much it's impacting. You know, it's not just, I mean, it's impacting to the point where scheduling is just not followed up on. So I just wanted to make that point because that really hit home when they couldn't even get. Not that they should make special treatment, but, you know.
Yeah. Would you put VIA as our future agenda, put it under the future agenda items, make sure we follow up on that? Okay, new business with Sandy. Oh, I thought that was quite good. Didn't
Yeah,
you?
very good.
I liked it. Okay, elections. I don't know exactly how to do this other than just open it up. I'm thinking, yes, sir.
I'd like to nominate Lonnie as the new chair.
I'm sorry?
I'd like to nominate Lonnie as the new chair.
Okay. It's one nomination. Are there any other nominations? Yes, sir.
I'd like to nominate John as the new chair.
Okay, we've got Lonnie and John. Anybody else? Any further nominations? guess the nominations cease. I guess at this point.
Now, I'm here at this meeting, I have a right to participate in this one
Still
too,
on.
right?
I'm sorry?
I would like to, I have a right to participate since it's a December meeting.
He can vote.
Yes.
Yeah, you could vote.
I wanted to nominate Dave also.
I don't think you can do it again, can you?
I think I can. I don't know, Christine, Ron, do you know that?
Yeah, I think you can. I mean, you're still an active board member. I don't think it's term limited. It's as long
Yeah,
as
until he gets off the board, he
Right.
can serve on it.
But is there a guarantee that he's back on in January yet?
Well, I thought it was approved.
Well, I thought it had been approved, yeah. I was told by the city clerk that I would be appointed.
Okay.
Because,
Right,
yeah,
yeah. Standing members are
Has the council voted on it?
no, not for new members, not yet.
that'll be the next meeting.
Right, right.
Well,
So
okay,
Can we nominate him?
Yeah, standing
Okay.
members, standing members are, since they've already gone through the process of being appointed, then they would continue if they re-up.
that'll be the third time, guys. Well, I'm not anxious to do that, I'll just say that.
Okay.
I've had 2 years,
Okay.
and it's a fair amount of work, you know. You guys have all done this before, you know it's a fair amount of work, so. All right, shall we vote? I'll hand out the ballots. I have one for the vice president.
All right.
Got the official ballot?
Special ballot, yeah. Now, I don't want to be accused of fraud.
Secret slot in the box.
Right, yeah, that's at the box.
Make sure you fill in the whole circle.
The trouble is you can't.
It's a black or a blue pen, right?
I should have done it when Sandy was here, and I should have doing it right.
That's fun.
You know, I called Ronnie before the meeting, I said, can you find just 2 more votes? Let's see, I got everybody?
Yeah.
There.
And what are we doing?
Okay, the nominees are Lonnie, John, and myself. So there's 3 nominees for president.
Oh, so you're still in, okay.
Well, I'm saying, I'm not withdrawing, but I'm saying I don't want to do it.
Okay.
If you're forced, so.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yep.
No, okay.
We want to collect them.
Okay. Do we
Well,
have a-
I can collect them
You want
since
to
I'm
collect them?
not,
Oh, I need to vote.
not part of the thing.
I need to vote.
Besides, I get up anyway.
Yes.
Does everyone get stickers?
I think so. Oh,
What's that?
Have you voted, Art?
the suspense.
And John? Oh, well, we only need one. Because what is for the vice chair, or the vice, one of those is supposed to be for the vice chair.
I thought we'd vote twice, once for the.
Wait, no, you gotta wait
You have to
to
wait
vote for the chair.
Yeah,
vote for the
Talk
chair
about the
first.
job.
We're just voting for the chair right now.
Yeah.
I gave everybody 2,
Well, I voted early.
so.
And here's,
Did you give it 2? Wait a second, you have one more than you need then.
3, 4, 5,
So-
6, how come I got 7?
What's mine are identified, because I.
Yeah, there should be 7 ballots.
Okay, oh, if you put vice chair, we're,
Did you put vice chair on?
here, do you want me to, look at them and then I'll give you back the one that
Is
says
it?
vice chair?
Is that
I
vice
don't know
chair?
that it says
That's
that.
Okay,
We
oh,
got
good, you did it on the outside, good, good.
Little confusion.
Okay, you wanna tell me when we're working?
Okay, all right, let's see. Oops.
Okay.
Neck and neck.
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay. So,
Should we call Anne?
Oh, boy.
so do you want to vote again?
Eliminate one and then.
Do you want to
Well-
Vote
eliminate?
again?
Yes.
Why don't we
Maybe
eliminate you?
eliminate
and
one
we'll
and-
vote again.
I think we'll have to vote again, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, you got a second piece of paper, so this is for
Eric
Lonnie.
needs another piece of paper, another sliver of paper.
Okay,
Needs no-
Lonnie or John?
I didn't know you were going to get paper. I said, no, you're doing it. You need another?
I mean, just one, two.
Okay.
Just one, huh?
One for vice president, yeah, just one.
All right. Okay, we need some more paper here.
Yep, need another round of paper.
Yeah, design.
Where are we voting? Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Thank you very much, Dave, for inviting me to the meeting.
Oh, well, thank you for coming.
It is a pleasure to meet you.
Okay,
Nice meeting you.
Okay, so I got 4, 5, 6. Oh, my. Well, it won't be a tie because
Right.
there's
Right.
7.
Thank you.
Okay, looks like John is our next chairperson.
okay.
Agree with it.
Wow. 1,110 days.
Right? Oh, yeah, that does look like a 0. 1,111.
Okay,
Vice
you
chair.
want to take over now?
No,
So you do nominations, right?
Nominations for vice
I'm
chair.
gonna ease into that.
All right, now nominations are open for vice chair. Yes, sir.
I can nominate Lonnie, please.
Lonnie?
Well, let's see.
Anybody, additional nominations for vice chair?
Yeah. I think I would like to nominate Anne,
Anne?
even though she's not here. Can we?
I don't
Does
know.
she need
You
to
read over?
accept?
Does she need to be
You
here?
might need to, right?
She might
Okay,
need to
Ann?
accept.
Oh, okay.
What did you say? I didn't hear
I
that.
think she
She
might
needs
need
to
to accept,
Yeah. Okay.
Who would go? Oh, okay.
Is
then.
there,
just because it would be awful if we voted her in and
It's a
then
new one.
That she
Yeah.
wanted.
She said
she couldn't do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was
Then-
surprised to come back.
are there any other nominations?
So how about Eric? Eric, would you?
No,
Boy, that was fast.
yeah, yeah.
About 2 seconds.
Are there any other nominations?
Oh,
All right, I think we can do this by acclamation then. All
Yeah.
those in favor of Lonnie, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we have a new chair and vice chair. Okay, I have to leave early. It's not that I'm done, I'm out of here. No, I do have to leave earlier. Let's see. Okay, I'll go down to item, what, it became D. No, I'm sorry, discussion of the city manager. I don't have anything in particular in mind here, but I thought we should talk about it a little bit. And so I thought I'd, and maybe you've discussed it as much as you need to under your reports, but I would ask each of you, maybe starting with Arlene, you know, how you think we might approach Harold on our discussion in March. That reminds me, do we have Harold on the agenda for March?
We don't, but we can set that up.
Yeah.
Future agenda items.
Okay, let's get Harold on the agenda for March. I guess it's obvious how we could approach this, but I'll just give you my 2 cents worth. It seems to me we could approach it at least a couple of ways. With looking at Harold as kind of a dry run for the city council. One way is just to summarize, the issues, like housing, for example. What are the issues that are important, and describe the situation, maybe give support and accolades to the senior center for what they've done. The idea being to make sure that they know what's going on, keep it visible. And I guess that would be, and that in itself, I think is worthwhile. And then the other thing we could do as part of that, you could make specific recommendations. And I don't know whether you're at the point where there's additional recommendations you would want to make. I think in the case of food security, there's definitely, if you're ready for those specific recommendations. I would like to present to the board, probably next meeting, because I got 5 minutes and I gotta be out here. Mental health and possibly employment. I've been doing some background work on employment. And if you approve, I'd like to at least describe the situation as it is and just make the council aware of some of the things that are going on, the situation as is. And maybe make no recommendations, probably make no recommendations at this point. So anyway, do you have what are your thoughts?
I was here last year when Harold came and attended the meeting, and I didn't hear much from people here. Harold gave a great presentation about what the city was doing, what have you. So if we're gonna do it, I think we should organize specifically to report to him and then hear what he has to say also. So something specific to give him on housing, transportation, and what have you, mental health. I know there's a lot of issues going around that. I don't hear as much about employment.
No, we haven't talked about it much. But
So perhaps we can focus on those 4 things that the board wants to speak to him about first.
yeah.
Just to throw it out for us to discuss it.
There's just one quick thing. On employment, I do know, I've been talking to the people that grant the money. And with the department is it anyway, the Title V under the old age, Title V under the old age, the Community Services Employment Program. And there is money available every year, and there's 8 grantees in this area. And so there's money available for employment. And so it's too late for this year. It's something we might do next year. I'm sorry, who did I cut off?
That's okay. And that's for seniors?
Yes,
Okay.
55 and older, I believe, based on need, veterans preference, another handicapped, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's worth pursuing, it really.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
I know last year when we did it, Harold did a long talk in the beginning, and then we each did a little presentation. I remember doing mine on housing. And, but yeah, we can actually ask him if we can do that first, because Harold can talk.
Yeah.
And, kind of, sometimes he gets kind of lost in what time it is and stuff. So if we asked him if we could do the presentation first, then he can fill in any of the gaps we may bring up, then that may be a good way of doing it, so.
Yep.
So can we then focus on the 4 items we just mentioned, housing, transportation, food insecurity, and employment? We can do a piece on that.
Transportation was mentioned, mental health.
Yeah.
Do you want transportation to be part of it?
Whatever this group decides is fine with me.
Well, why don't we leave it as an option? Why don't we
Well, it's one of the
put it as a
focuses-
category?
It's one of the focuses of the group.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I could,
It wasn't mentioned before, but it is one of the focuses, so.
I could provide something on employment easier than I could mental health. Mental health is so huge.
Pretty big.
And,
There's a lot being done now.
yeah,
Just do this
that's
group.
something I think I could get a handle on between now and March.
With a dry run perhaps in February,
Mm-hmm.
February 8th.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you
So-
going, excuse me, are you going to stay on as the representative of the advisory board to the Friends?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I'll stay on as friends, the rep to Friends, and I just see a great connection there. And
Yeah, there's potential there to
Yes.
really make a partnership.
yes, that's exactly what I'm working on, is a partnership.
Yeah.
And I will say, I'm gonna leave in about a minute, that I think there's a lot of room for partnership there. At the last meeting, I did mention that we would like to be a part, and I think this goes back a couple, 3 meetings that we agreed that we'd like to be part of their strategic planning process. And I don't know, I think it's it hasn't done much so far. I mean, you haven't come to any recommendations at all, so I think it's still wide open. It's my sense of it.
I think it is, and I think what's happening now, there's elections coming up on that board as
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
And I think there's some changes in direction, and what you'll see is some of the committees falling under specific board members.
Yes,
So there's more impetus to keep chatting and getting things more
yeah.
organized, so there's some changes coming there.
So I will just say, and I think it's consistent with the board, that we developed a good working relationship, and
Yeah.
obviously that works to our advantage. You know, if we have something specific, like bands, we can recommend it and maybe get some money.
Is there a good process we can start to get ready for, to be part of the strategic plan?
The strategic planning is the venue for the current acting president, Bruce Walkout. She's trying to set up a meeting this month to get that more organized.
Okay.
They've been pretty bogged down with the changes on the board, and getting the bands approved, which they did get done.
Yeah, that's great.
And Ronnie's gonna move, once that was done and approved, he's also now asking for some help with audiovisual stuff here.
Good.
He has a price tag for that already, so the board's now mulling that over. So there's a lot of activity all of a sudden to spend money here at the senior center.
Excellent.
So it's changing what's been going on for a while. And concurrently, that they're also looking at doing more fundraising, grant writing, whatever. They're also looking for a focus of what to ask money for, oddly enough, how to spend it. So there's some activity there. I think Dave's involvement would be a connection back to the advisory board, is really critical. We represent the same people, we should be talking to each other.
What happened?
Thank you.
Oh,
All right, I just want to say, it's been a pleasure, it really has. I mean it, it's been a pleasure. And Art, you're leaving the board, and you've been a great help, and I've appreciated you being on the board. And good luck on Friends, you're gonna be on Friends, right?
No, I finally.
Sorry.
His wife said he just likes it.
Okay, I thought you were.
he's taking a breather.
It was difficult,
Okay, all right.
He's taking a breather, but Art, you
Yeah.
have been appreciated on this board. You are like the face of this board.
I've enjoyed serving, I've learned a lot, and I tell you, the opportunity to meet more people, like you folks, and the dedication that you have. And, I really feel proud of this community, and I'm very proud of Ronnie and his staff for what they've done here, and what they're doing, and so we're in good shape. We're really fortunate here in the city of Longmont, I'll tell you.
They really are.
So thank you for giving me that opportunity.
Thank you.
You're gonna be missed.
Thank you.
Well, it's your meeting now, so you're still the guys.
I'm not the vice president. Yeah, Ronnie.
So we can do the reports next. Managers, why don't you take over, Ronnie?
All right.
You have a lot of time, so don't worry.
So we made our board recommendations for 2025, and we sent them over to the city clerk's office on behalf of the Senior Citizens Advisory Board. So reached out to everybody to get approval to move those recommendations forward. And so that has already taken place. It's in city clerk's office hands at this time.
Do we know who it is or not yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Right, it has to be, it
That's
has
it.
to be announced first by, yeah.
But you did send us an email with the names on there, right?
Yeah.
Right, to confirm those moving
Yeah.
forward, yeah. So, we're currently working with our Northern Arapahoe friends to get the Alder Exchange up and running. They had a change in leadership. And so when some of their leaders came down for our, Native Heritage Month celebration, we were able to make those connections, and we're in a position now to really get this up and moving. So, I received an email this morning to see if we can meet Friday to further discuss this, to see if we can get this going as early as March.
Nice.
So there's more life back into this conversation, and we're excited to kind of see where this can go. Also currently working on interviews for our vacant bilingual office assistant position. We have those set up for next week. We have three great candidates, excited to see what comes from that. We have our interview team ready to go. So once we have identified who our candidate is, I'll bring that to our next advisory board meeting. As you all see, we have our new Go catalog out, hot off the press, so we got these in. Really excited about this, about this upcoming season. So again, we moved to 3 Go cycles instead of 4. So this is our winter spring catalog. We are continuing our Coffee with Leadership started for the year for 2025. So we have 6 total dates identified for Coffee with Leadership, and I wanted to reach out to you all to see if you are available to sign up for any of these based off of your availability. If I would like to have our advisory board be a part of this conversation, we'll see what openings there are, and from there, if we need to see if someone has availability to double up and go to a couple of them, that's
And how do we
also-
do that? Right. I'm sorry, that I just talked and I didn't even raise my hand.
It's okay.
But how do we do that?
For
For volunteering?
Okay, so in my manager's report, those dates are listed, and before we leave, I can even put them on the board again to see if you know your availability now for 2025. You can sign up, but if not, just get back to me as well based off interest, and I'll just keep it a running email at that point so our board members can see what dates have been filled and be able to plan outside of those. Okay. And again, if you want to do a couple of them, that's also fine. Great opportunity for us to interact with any guest who's interested in coming in and just touching base. The one that I was a part of, it was me, John and I, and I think we have, 3 or 4 participants. Good questions, great conversation for both John and I, asking him perspectives as an advisory board leader, as well as as a manager of the facility. Great questions, just great authentic conversation. Love for you to be a part of that. We also had some more people that didn't show up. It's just based off of their availability. It's almost like a drop-in, right? So there's no sign up. We don't know how many people are coming. It's just a good opportunity for us to be available. All right, recreation programs. We're set for e-lottery for winter trip registration. Also attached in our packets, just a kind of one of our handouts that we're giving to all of our guests. Just a little refresher, what this does is it makes our registration process more equitable. Instead of one person drawing their lottery number and being able to register for multiple, the high ticket item trips, each trip now has its own lottery system. And so, again, it makes it more equitable for all of our guests, especially when we're currently at this time have limited space on some of our trips. Again, we're only operating 2 vehicles. In the works of purchasing 2 more vehicles for 2025, hopefully, right? We get it in time before this year is over. But again, in the meantime, it just makes the registration process more equitable. And when we're talking about equity, when we're looking at our scholarships, we have a lot of scholarship dollars that are unused because our guests are left on that waiting list. So it provides more opportunity for those who get a bad draw and are put on all the waiting lists for all the trips that they really wanted to go on. And so, again, those funds are left on the table. It gives them an opportunity to not only use this one, but again, attend a trip of their choice.
Ronnie,
Yes.
any idea about the purchasing process for the two vans, how long that might take?
Don't know yet. So still in the process, send my recommendations over to Fleet on what vans we are looking for. They wanted the specifications of vehicle model, the layout of the vehicle. I sent that over. It's in their hands to allow them to start looking and searching for those vehicles. So as of this moment, I don't have that answer. But once I do, I will have to share that out.
How long does it typically take? I mean, it's been a while, I guess, since vans have been purchased.
It used to be faster, but with the supply shortage, we've had some issues securing products just all over the board, or over the city, in different areas. So I think the fact that Ronnie handed the recommendations in as soon as that vote was done, I think the chances are that, we could get something as soon as we could get their hands on it.
Right, and that's really what it is those factors that are out of our control
Yeah.
of
Supply
availability.
chain, yeah.
The supply chain,
Right.
yeah, that's what,
Yeah.
blanking on the word.
And I heard that,
Are they both ADA compliant?
yes, so it very much mirror the same vehicles that we currently have, one with a wheelchair lift and one without. But yes, both ADA compliant, so the same exact layouts.
I think the other thing that I might add, just in terms of moving to the e-lottery system, is where the board could play a role, is that this is a change, right, from how we've done things in the past with the drawing numbers and the bingo balls and all of that piece of things. And so change can sometimes be hard. And so I think that a role that the advisory board could have is that if there are questions about it, or if you hear that people are unhappy about it, to really help us frame that message, that it's about the equitable access. And so if I, as a person, draw that bingo ball number 1 and Ronnie is number 35, I get to sign up on all of the high ticket or the high highly desirable trips, and then he's left on wait lists. But moving to this, where there's a separate lottery for each activity, each trip, really makes it fair for everybody.
Yeah.
But it's still a change, and we know that change is sometimes difficult. So if you could help us frame that, staff does that already, but I think hearing from somebody on the advisory board, if there is dissatisfaction, and that also helps to send that message as to the why.
Right, yeah.
But is that decision made here with this board?
No, that's a programmatic decision.
Oh, okay.
That's a programmatic decision, but I think as advocates, as representatives,
Right.
you have the ability to do that.
Right, but in that process, it was a collection of feedback we got from our guests
Exactly.
on how we can make these adjustment improvements to make it more equitable. And so we started examining, and this is what we landed on these adjustments. And with this, what it does as well, instead of having one day where you have to be physically present to draw that bingo number for your trips, if somebody has, we'll say, an emergency comes about, they can still submit a paper form copy, and our staff will register for them for those events, or if they have a planned trip, a vacation, and they can't be physically present for the traditional bingo lottery system. Again, they can fill out that form in advance and say, these are the trips I would like to be registered for. And our staff will help register for them, register for them for those lotteries for each trip. And what that does is, it doesn't matter if you're the very, very first person to fill out your form electronically or in person, or the very last person electronically or in person. They both have the same opportunity.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter when you submit that, everybody has the same opportunities.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask you. If someone doesn't have a computer they can fill out something here?
Yes.
Okay, and when do they have to have it filled out by?
And so that one right off the top of my head, let's see, registration for our trips are
December
December
2nd, 14th, 16th.
to 16th, yeah, to the 16th, 2nd to
Okay.
16th.
by the 16th.
Yeah.
By the 16th.
So
That's where we go.
everything has to be in by the 16th?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So,
And so that gives us a chance to get this out in advance. Everybody gives a chance to explore electronically. We have the electronic version on our website,
Right?
and also, again, you know, to really dive in. What are the trips are you interested in, and make sure that you get those forms submitted in advance.
And that's what I was interested in, because the biggest change is it's going online.
Right.
So people don't use their computer and aren't computer savvy, they still have the option of coming here,
That is good.
filling out forms, and you guys do it for them.
Right.
Good.
Right.
Okay, great.
so can I just ask for a bit of clarification because
Yes.
I'm confused? So if I were to fill something out for, by the 16th for the trips that I was interested in, who selects? Does a computer select?
It is.
The computer selects, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So once all of that is again electronically or manually inserted into our computer software our system, it automatically generates and randomizes the selection based off of who registered for what trips.
Okay.
And so what it does is once it identifies who has been selected and who is on the wait list, whether you were selected or on the wait list, you'll receive an auto-generated email of where you landed on that. So if I was third on the wait list, I would get an email showing that I'm third on the wait list. So I'm aware of where I was for each of those trips.
What would happen to people who don't have emails?
That is something that we will have to work with our guests to help set up if we need to. So we're working with our SATC on that as well to help register if for any reason we don't have somebody with an email.
No, I mean to find out if they're on any, if they got on the trips and stuff.
Right. So if they don't have an email,
Right.
yeah,
They just come in here
Yeah.
and they can find out.
well, we can pull that up exactly. So they
Right.
can come to our front desk. But what we want is to have our guests set up and register correctly. And so if they don't and they want to register on their own, our SAT is an option to help set up an email account for
Oh,
our
okay.
guests as well.
All right, but I know people who don't have a computer, so.
Yeah.
But they can just come in here
Absolutely.
and they can find out.
Yeah.
Good. All right.
So
Oh,
again,
they have phones, though.
What?
They have phones.
Yeah, but sometimes.
and as you can see, if you've been around our facility, walked around the whole building, we have a couple trees in our lobby that are in sight. So we have our Deck the Halls food drive going on right now. Really picked up this year from last year. We have 9 total trees last year. It was a brand new program we started for this food drive event. We had a couple of them. This year we have 9. Walk around our building, take a look at all these different trees, and what we're hoping is that our guests will vote on their favorite tree by donating food for that tree. So at the end of this event that runs until the 31st, we will count the amount of food items that each tree received as votes, and then be able to identify who our winner was. And our winner will be highlighted in our summer Go catalog for May through August, just kind of celebrating that.
When they get a trip to Europe, right?
Right.
Hawaii, not
Right.
Oregon.
And in our Go, we do have, we have extended travel up and running again. So we're really happy about that.
Ronnie did a great job advocating with our legal team, our risk department. It was not an easy feat to get that up and going again, but he really heard that is something that that our consumers, our customers want to do, and so he was tenacious about getting it done. So
Yeah. I've heard that since day one.
yes, the day he started. When are you doing extended travel? He's like, wait a minute, I have to put my lunchbox down.
Right. That is located in page 74 of our Go catalog as well. So we, again, as mentioned to our board before, we are starting with domestic travel and then being able to expand out to international travel moving forward. So we just want to make sure that our community is aware that we are starting this, so that's why we focus on the domestic piece first before we integrate international travel as well. Yes.
Ronnie, the vans, are they involved at all other than in the metro area for domestic travel?
The van, so we are looking at that. We are looking at, in the past, I know they've been used in that space. We do want to do travels, let's say to Wyoming or to New Mexico for the Bloom Festival, right? As we start exploring things like that and interest, is this something that we need a charter bus for? Is this something that we can look at if it's a weekend getaway trip? We use our vehicles because that helps save us money versus charters, right? It makes it more financially accessible for our guests. And so we will take a look at some of those factors as we really start unpacking and planning down the road for future travels.
And remind me one more time, are the drivers volunteers or are they paid?
They're paid.
They're paid.
Paid staff.
So we don't have volunteer drivers for?
We do not. At this time, I'll say, at this time, we do not. That's something we could look at exploring down the road. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So very excited about that.
Good.
And and just kind of some trends that we've seen with supportive services. They've seen a lot of clients coming in seeking support for housing as it's starting to get colder, right? And finding what those resources, what resources exist for those supports. So we've been busy. We've been busy. Any questions for me?
What is the senior center position on assistance with Medicare? It says that they're concerned about their rent, their Medicare costs and stuff like that.
And those are just concerns with
Just concerns with very little
new,
that we can do as a.
right. And it's really answers that we don't have at this time. It's just
Right.
concerns with new administration, and just really want to know what that means for them, for their well-being, and it's just answers we don't have at this time. So it's just bringing awareness to the concerns that we're hearing.
Okay.
Yes.
The 45, the last item on your highlights, the 45 people that you're talking about providing baskets or whatever to, is that specifically to Longmont or Boulder County?
Longmont. Yeah.
Is there any support that the advisory board can provide at this point?
Let me look at that. I appreciate that. Let me look at that and see if there's any support that is needed. Thank you.
What all goes in the holiday basket?
I will look at it. I'm not clear what all the details are for that one.
Turkeys, hams.
Yeah.
Socks.
And we were saying that.
There you go.
You're saying that trip, right?
Yeah.
Get clarification, what was that, John, that you just
I'm sorry?
had? What was that you just had?
Oh, the last time there's 45 families here in Longmont they're going to be doing baskets for. Just want to see if something the advisory board could help with or support.
So let me take a look at that and I'll send an email out to the advisory board to see what support's needed, if any. Thank you.
Do a couple of baskets or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could come in, I mean, you could do that.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, area agency on aging. Oh, I'm sorry.
I have a question for you. Vision Zero, when are they scheduled to come back?
Vision Zero. So we have not, and we can put that on our future agenda items.
Yeah, let's
we-
do it.
We talked about that in our advisory board meetings to see if we needed them back, but because of all these other areas of interest that we've identified, this group we stated that we didn't want to bring them back this year because we wanted to bring in
Right.
people.
Right,
So-
so let's put them back
So
on
we'll
the
put that on our
agenda.
future agenda items.
Yep.
Vision Zero.
Yeah, it's just kind of an understanding what it's all about.
Okay, we'll put
Yeah.
that, we'll put that in there. All right, thank you.
Anything, are you all set?
Yeah. Every this board appreciate everything that you all do. You're just really a great support to all of our services, what we do, our operations. And just thank you for your time and energy.
Do you want to post the coffee leadership opportunities and get that on?
Perfect.
And thank you, Ronnie, and your staff. You've really done a good job this year with putting together a good group of people
Thank you.
and working hard to fill the gaps that happened and to get everything running smoothly, so.
Very, very proud of the team we have.
Yeah, I think you should be. I think you should be. You have a great team.
Are you here officially 2 years this month?
2 years this month.
Congratulations.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you. I was pointing out to Christina, I didn't have all these white hairs on my face.
Is that why you shaved your
Courtesy
head?
of.
There is a thing called dye.
Yeah, I can't do that.
That's a
They
thing
didn't
in
have
the
to be here.
Yes. Okay, city council liaison. So the city council will choose someone to be the liaison, and will they do it after they bring on the new city council member?
I'm not sure what the process is when a city council member steps down. I can follow up with the clerk's office to see what that looks like.
I just
And
didn't
then
know
get
if
back.
there'd be a gap in between of us not having someone, or if they'd appoint somebody.
I'm thinking that well, I know what they're going to do is kind of redo the liaisons. And so there could be a gap if the existing members don't sign up. Or if somebody does sign up, then there wouldn't be a gap if an existing council member
Okay.
of the 6 or 5 that.
Okay. And thinking of that, I would like to figure out when we want to get on the city council agenda to do our presentation like we did last year. Now remember, this was only an informational presentation. It had something to do with the recommendations that we had made previously to Harold, but it was really just to continue to let people know what happens here at the senior center. So when did we do it last year? Does anybody remember?
I think it was April or May, yeah.
Do we want to look at the same thing for this year?
Well,
Maybe
possible.
May?
Harold's gonna be here-
May.
Harold's gonna be here in March,
Right.
correct? I'd like to give us some time to organize ourselves around the 4 topics we talked about when Dave was here.
Right.
So give us a couple months to
That
put it
makes
together,
sense.
practice it maybe in May and present in June. Give us that.
I would
That's
think
late.
there was some reason why April or May was
It has something to
recommended.
do with the budget.
Right.
And wasn't
Okay.
June too late? Or was it
June
just
is too
kind of
late,
pushed it? Yeah.
because Memorial Day-ish is when Ronnie needs to have his initial budget asks into the system.
Okay.
So I
So-
think that's why you did it in April.
Yeah. 'Cause
So
May's
you
kind
think
of
April or
pushing it.
May? Do you think May is better, or you think April's better? What's the recommendation
Probably
on
April,
that?
because then that could give Ronnie time to, maybe end of April if Harold's coming in March. End of April, because then that'll give him a month to kind of hear what Harold has to say, hear what your recommendations are, and prioritize that.
And should we get in touch with Harold and ask him to get on the agenda?
Just let us know when, let us know what date, and Ronnie can reach out to
Good.
Erica,
Okay.
his executive assistant, and get it in the books.
Perfect.
So look at end of April.
End of April.
End of
April.
March for Harold, and then end of
April
April
for the
council.
presentation to the city council.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, and that's something that I can do. I can get you on the city council agenda, and Ronnie can get you on Harold's. Does that make sense?
You have some PowerPoints again?
Sure. Happy to do that.
Okay. All right, great. Area Agency on Aging. I kind of already did the report that I sent out to everybody. because the big point was that we have a day coming up, February 13th, I think it is, right? With the legislature, state legislature. We're gonna have a breakfast at the state, and we're gonna be inviting various legislatures that we feel have influence on topics we wanna discuss with them. And we're in the process of putting those topics together, and it'll be a day that we can personally talk to legislatures and legislators, and give our views on what's coming up and what we want them to support. So, does anybody have any questions on that? Would anybody like to give input on that?
I think it would be nice if anybody from the board wanted to attend, because it is a senior day thing. And part of the reason why we're doing the breakfast is because you get more people to attend.
With food.
With food.
Great food.
All these
So-
breakfast burritos.
So everybody could potentially we're all invited to attend, other than the people on the agency?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that they're going to try and provide some sort of transportation, which would be really nice. That way you don't have to
We
worry
could
about
meet
where you're going to
someplace
park.
and just,
If we all met here, and went down or whatever it was, but of course we'll get more information back to you guys on that, but yeah, it's
And that day was February
13th. It's a
Maybe.
Tuesday?
day before Valentine's Day.
We'll put it on the agenda for January and discuss that again and get,
Right, yeah.
solidify that
You can put it down as a future
agenda.
agenda item.
Yeah.
It's just discussing older adults day,
Uh-huh.
would be January.
Senior day at the legislature.
We want that
I
January or
think it's
February?
called Older Adults Day, isn't it?
Older adults day.
That's what I have
It
down.
could be, yeah.
Let's put it on both
January,
and
February. Well, February, our meeting is before that, right?
Right,
Two close,
okay. Well,
two close.
We'll do it for January, and then if there's a reason to put it on February, we could do that. If there's not, we'll just do a reminder,
that works.
okay? All right, and, hang on 1 second, everybody. Friends? Anybody?
I think they've covered pretty much what's going on there. We'll see more activity, I think, in the coming year.
Okay. Sustainability, I noticed there was a report
Yeah.
added in the packet on a meeting that they had. I guess they have quarterly meetings. So, there was a meeting, or there was a report that was added to the packet about their most recent meeting. So if you have any questions with that, we could discuss it at the next board meeting. Okay? One thing I skipped, and I apologize, Eric and Maria, why don't you give us an update on the selection process and what you found to be good or not good, or just what's your reaction on going through that process? What did you learn about it?
I think it was pretty well. So, well, for me, I think it was really, really pretty well, so.
I think, well, if you don't know what the selection process is like, we have a set of questions, so everyone is evaluated the same way. And we just ask the questions and rank them, and I believe it was from 1 to 10 for each answer. And we did that, and we had some very excellent candidates, and we, at the end, there was a consensus on which candidate should move forward. And I thought it went great.
What kind of criteria did you have, just generally, candidates?
Do we even talk about that?
I don't know. Yeah.
Just generally what you were looking for.
I think, yeah, to talk about just in general what you're looking for, but not discuss any
Yeah.
specific, yeah.
I think it was more people who had some knowledge of what was going on here and sort of what was going on in the seniors here already. some experience with volunteering, more enthusiasm for what we do.
Yeah, and what if they are, what they are want to be part of the board, and what they offer, or what they want to bring to the board, and what kind of commitment they have to be here. It was really interesting.
That's right.
Now, you picked two, right?
Yes.
Okay. Is that the most we can have on the board, or is there room for more in the future?
I think there's opportunity, I think there's a process to add additional seats.
But is that max right now?
Right now, yes.
Oh, okay, okay. But then if we decide like throughout 2025 that we want to increase
Yes.
the number on the board for the next,
The process for that, yes.
right, we can do that? Good. Okay.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
So how many people total did you have? I'm just curious how many people even apply.
I don't know how many applied, but the amount that we interviewed was 4.
We
Okay,
have 4 applicants.
okay,
4 applicants and then Dave.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Well, that-
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
But Dave did not have to interview, so we had 4 interviews.
Okay.
It's just been in the last couple of years that we actually had more than we needed, huh? That hopefully says something about what we're doing.
Speaks to the work that you're doing,
People
absolutely.
are knowing, hearing more about what's going on, so that's a
It's
good
even
thing.
better, they're getting older.
Okay, upcoming legislation. These are the future agenda items. So the upcoming legislation, Sandy's gonna get in touch with us and let us know what is important to our focus, which is seniors in Longmont and supporting the seniors in Longmont. So as we get anything, Ronnie, you'll get them and you'll pass them on to us, right?
Absolutely.
Excellent. January and February, employment is going to be an issue as far as who we have come and speak. Who do we have set up in January? Do we have anybody set up?
Dave was leading that one.
Yeah.
So Dave was leading employment. I haven't heard from him on any work around that. I know he's just, collectively the board's been, has identified up until this point, who and what we're gonna be focusing on. I think he was waiting to see, come January, what the board structure looks like before he starts unpacking employment. I know, because January is a busy board meeting anyway. So I know it's on here for January, February, but I think it's gonna be more February. But again, as to what work he's done around that, I haven't heard from him.
Okay, so coordinated entry is also
Yeah.
kind of up in the
And
air?
that's why we put January, February for both
Right.
of those, because January.
Whichever
is-
takes one, the other one will
Yeah,
get.
yeah.
Mhm.
And
Any
we-
Bertho could do the coordinated entry either.
Right, right. And so I
So
think,
he'd be available. My concern is that we don't want to wait until January to decide who's going to speak at the January meeting.
Let me put a tentative hold on his calendar for both. Just give me the.
For both?
Yeah,
Okay.
just, and so he can just hold it for both.
okay.
I think we probably will have him for January, just because I can't see getting in touch with Dave and then having him put something together until, for January.
So, yeah, I'll just put a hold on both. January
Okay.
what?
Whatever.
And then February what?
Oh,
Let's see.
It's over, it's not
Oh, I
closed.
think. January, it wouldn't be January
Yeah, February
first.
first.
so the 8th?
Does it have to be?
I think we chose
I
the-
thought we
Oh, no,
decided.
that's right, we moved it to the second.
to the second.
Oh, right, we did.
Okay, so
January
January
2nd.
second,
Yeah, I thought it was second.
10:30, does that work?
Yeah.
And then February 5th,
Yeah.
10:30. Yeah, I'll put a hold on his calendar for both.
Okay.
Either
Okay.
day.
And then, Bianca, what do you have for additional future agenda items?
Via Vision Zero.
Okay, that's good. All right, does anybody else have any information, any questions, anything they want to bring up?
Yeah, I'm confused. When will we have the next meeting in January?
Second.
Is it the second?
Yeah, it's Thursday instead of.
Give everybody a chance to have menudo before they come in.
And that meeting, the January 2nd, will be in room D,
Okay,
not in here. And then in February, we're coming back in here.
okay.
So that's just because we switched the day.
So we're all gonna drag in from January 1st, right? Is that-
Right, exactly.
That's cool.
Board voted.
Menudo first, I'm telling you.
Right.
I used to serve that. I used to work in a Mexican restaurant in Boulder. Senor Miguel's. And they'd come out and I'd go into the kitchen to pick it up and I'd go, can somebody else bring it to the table? And kids, I'm not
I
used to
would love some right
this.
now.
Again, I want to say, Art, thank you for your dedication, your work with the board, your Mr. Senior Center to Longmont
Oh.
position that you've had, because really, working with you on those couple of things when we volunteered, I realized how many people knew you and how many people saw you as being such a representative of the senior center. So I want to thank you from everybody here, I believe, for your work and your dedication. You've been a treasure on this board and you'll be missed.
Well, I thank you, and I just feel that we're just fortunate to have the board that we do that. People work hard.
Yeah,
So thank you.
and we'll keep on working hard, using your example for how to reach out to the community.
And I'm gonna let Maria know if there's, well, let any of you know that if there's something coming out that I could volunteer for, I'm ready for something.
Oh, we're not letting you
I
go.
don't want to overdo it, but.
We're not
but I
letting
do
you
wanna
go.
volunteer. That's what I was asking about drivers, for example. So,
Uh-huh.
We're always hiring drivers.
Yeah.
Part-time job.
What's that?
Part-time job.
Yeah, right. Part-time job. But thank you all. Thank you for, like I said, all your hard work.
You're welcome. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
That's 1 second.
Oh,
This
sorry.
January meeting, what's the typical agenda for January's first meeting of the year? What happens?
So this would be my, I guess, second, when I came in the first one. Yeah, so, I don't know, it's just really bringing in new board members, and there's a lot of focus last year on what the goals are for 2024, so, and I guess what's that process, so now that you've been identified as our chair, advisory board chair, I guess that's really your direction.
I'm glad you're asking that. That's
You'll
good.
get together with, every month, you'll get together with Ronnie and set the agenda for the meeting.
You know, I'd like to ask the board at that meeting, and also talk about what you all would like to do. How you see all of us contributing
Sure.
to the senior center and supporting what goes on here, and connecting with friends and other groups. So we'll spend some of the time talking about specific what each board member would like to see happen. So,
Does that go on as a future agenda item, or you just know it when you build that agenda?
And so what'll happen, right, so
Okay.
what we'll do is now I'll reach out to, John to find a date where he's available, so we can craft the agenda based off of conversations we've had at this meeting.
Perfect.
And anything he's come across since then as well from the advisory board members.
Okay. And I just want to mention, I happen to see, I was sent something that is a recommendation on things to donate for food banks and for food drives. And I'm going to send it to everybody because it was really interesting. They were saying, like, mac and cheese, boxes of mac and cheese, you still need milk and you still need a way to cook it. Other things that were just recommendations, but kind of helpful things to know. So I'll send it out to everybody.
Does that have culturally accepted foods also? Did you notice? There's some foods that people don't like. Some different groups. I'm just wondering if it's on that list too.
Don't know, you can look at it when you get it and see if it, how far it covers and things. But it was just helpful for me, and I like spreading it out because, you know, I do donate to food drives, and I like to make sure what I'm giving them is actually helpful, as helpful as it can be, so.
Well,
Okay.
ever on like peas.
Well, this is I'll take it off your list.
All cans should have flip tops,
Yeah, it
you know,
should.
stuff like that. Okay, is there anything else at all? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Eric and John? And thank you, everybody. Thank you very much for your work. Thank you for 2024. And we'll see you all back in the new year.